My fiancé posted, "Disappointed in my partner, he refuses to put my kids first." She didn't mention I'd been paying for their school, their clothes, and their activities for 2 years. I replied, "Here's why," with receipts showing $96,000 I'd spent on her household. Her best friend commented, "This isn't what you told us." By evening, the post was deleted, and I make a living fixing other people's messes. That is what landscaping really is, no matter how pretty the final photos look on a website. People see trimmed hedges, clean stone paths, fresh mulch, flower beds with sharp edges, and they think the job is about beauty. Most of the time, it is about damage control. It is about clearing what has overgrown, cutting back what is choking something healthy, rebuilding what neglect or weather has broken, and making chaos look intentional again. I used to think that skill carried over into relationships. I was wrong. I learned that the day my fiancée went online and told the world I refused to put her kids first. I was on a property across town, knee-deep in mulch behind a client's house, trying to finish a cleanup before the afternoon heat got worse. My shirt was stuck to my back, my gloves were filthy, and my phone kept vibrating in my pocket like something was wrong. I ignored it twice. The third time, I pulled off one glove, checked the screen, and saw a message from my cousin Nate. "You seeing this?" Under it was a screenshot. I opened it and felt my whole body go cold. It was a Facebook post from Celeste, my fiancée. The profile photo was one I had taken of her myself at a pumpkin patch the previous fall. She looked soft, kind, almost innocent. Under the photo, she had written, "Disappointed in my partner. He refuses to put my kids first." Some people love the idea of family until actual sacrifice is required. That was it. No name, no details, no explanation. Just enough for everyone who knew her to know she meant me, and vague enough for strangers and friends alike to fill in the blanks in ways that made her look like the exhausted, noble mother betrayed by a selfish man. I read it once, then again. Then I scrolled to the comments, and they were exactly what you would expect. A real man would step up. Kids come first. Period. Single moms always get treated like this. If he can't love your kids like his own, he needs to go. Then one from her friend Lila. Men always show their true colors when money gets tight. That word hit me like a slap. Money. Because the truth was not that I refused to put her kids first. The truth was that for 2 straight years, I had done almost nothing else. I sat down right there on the stone border of the flower bed and opened my banking app. Then my credit card statements. Then the receipts folder in my phone, because I run my own landscaping business, and I document everything. Materials, fuel, payroll, deposits, invoices, equipment repairs. I have to. Numbers matter when you work for yourself. They keep you honest. That habit saved me. I started taking screenshots, tuition assistance for Ava's school, uniforms, shoes, soccer registration, dance fees, piano lessons, summer camp, school supplies, urgent care copays, prescriptions, emergency groceries, utility bills, the washing machine repair, the leak in the kids' bedroom ceiling, the deposit on the used minivan when Celeste's transmission died. One by one, the payments stacked up, one temporary emergency after another. One I'm so embarrassed to ask after another. One, the kids really need this after another. By the time I was done, I had 30 plus screenshots and one number at the bottom that made my stomach turn. $96,000. $96,000. I just stared at it. Not because I did not know I had spent a lot. I knew. But I had never forced myself to see all of it in one place. I had never let myself total the full cost of what I had been carrying. Because if I had, I might have had to admit what was happening much sooner. The most humiliating part was that while I was spending it, I did not even think of myself as generous. I thought I was building a family. I thought I was doing what a decent man does when children are involved. Then I opened Facebook. I almost never post personal drama. My page is mostly landscaping work, before and after shots, occasional fishing photos, and whatever my sister tags me in during holidays. I hate people who turn real pain into public theater. But that day I typed 4 words. Here's why. Then I attached the screenshots. At the top I wrote, Since I'm being discussed publicly, I'll answer publicly. For the last 2 years, I've paid for school costs, clothes, activities, groceries, repairs, medical expenses, and household emergencies for this family. Total, $96,000. If refusing to put the kids first means I finally said no after funding nearly everything, then yes, I refused. I care about the kids and always will. But I won't be lied about. I read it once, my thumb hovering over the screen. Then I hit post. My phone exploded. The first comment that really mattered came from Celeste's best friend, Marisol. This isn't what you told us. I read that twice. So there it was. Not just one angry lie, a whole narrative, a version of me she had been feeding people behind my back. More comments poured in. Wait, 96,000? He paid for camp too? I thought you said he barely helped. These are actual receipts. This is not what we heard. Then the silence started. People who had rushed to call me selfish stopped typing. A couple deleted their comments, some vanished, a few messaged privately to say they didn't know the full story. By evening, Celeste's original post was gone, deleted. But the worst part was not the embarrassment. It was the clarity. Because once I saw my life turned into receipts, I could not pretend anymore that I had been misunderstood. I had been used. To understand how I got there, you have to understand how it started. I met Celeste in a garden center in early spring. I was 35, sunburned from work, permanently tired, and running a small landscaping company that took most of my time and nearly all of my energy. I am not flashy. I do not wear suits. My hands are rough. My truck always smells faintly like cut grass and gasoline. Most women I dated before Celeste respected my work, but did not admire it. To them, I was solid, practical, useful. Never the guy people bragged about at dinner parties. Celeste was different, at least at first. She was 32, beautiful in a polished, put-together way, with the kind of smile that made you feel chosen when it landed on you. She had 2 children with her that day, Ava and Micah, 8 and 6. Micah was reaching for a stack of ceramic pots when one started to tip. I caught it before it shattered. Celeste laughed and said, "You just saved me $30 and a total breakdown." I told her, happy to be of service. She laughed harder, and I remember that because for months, I thought that sound meant she felt safe with me. We started talking, then coffee, then dinner, then weekends with the kids. I liked them faster than I expected. Ava was quiet, observant, serious beyond her age. Micah was loud, impulsive, forever dirty, forever asking questions. I started noticing little things and handling them automatically. Bringing sunscreen, keeping bottled water in the truck, remembering Ava hated mustard, reminding Micah to use the bathroom before long drives, showing up with folding chairs for soccer games, because I noticed Celeste always forgot one. One night, after I fixed her broken gate latch, we were standing on her porch while the kids slept inside. She looked at me and said, "That's what I like about you. You don't perform being dependable. You just are." That line got me. I had spent years being treated like background furniture by women who wanted polished men with polished jobs. Celeste made me feel like what I was: steady, physical, practical. Was not just enough, but valuable. The first money problem entered the relationship the way it always does in stories like this, disguised as a crisis involving children. Ava's school was threatening to pull her from an enrichment program because of overdue fees. Celeste's ex, Darren, had not paid what he was supposed to. She was crying quietly in the kitchen, trying not to let the kids hear. She kept saying, "I'll figure it out." I always do. I asked how much it was. She hesitated. That hesitation matters now because I later realized it was part of her pattern. She knew exactly how to make a request feel reluctant enough that I would offer before she truly had to ask. So I paid it. Not because she demanded it, because Ava was in the next room doing homework. And I grew up hearing adults whisper about money like kids could not hear it through walls. I know what that does to a child. Celeste hugged me like I had rescued them. After that, the requests came one at a time: new cleats for Micah, a winter coat for Ava, an electric bill during a rough month, groceries, piano lessons, camp, a dentist bill, a school trip, prescription, pickups. dance costumes. Every single expense came with the same framing. Temporary, embarrassing. Just this once. The kids really need this. I'll pay you back when I catch up. Each individual yes made sense. That is how people lose themselves. Not in one grand sacrifice, in 100 small ones that all feel reasonable at the time. At the same time, I was becoming part of their routine. I showed up for school events, sports games, and doctor appointments when Celeste was overwhelmed or double booked. I built raised beds in the backyard because Ava wanted tomatoes and Micah liked digging for worms. I fixed porch steps so no one would fall. I painted Micah's bookshelf because he wanted race car blue. I learned how Ava liked her poster boards laid out for school projects because she said I made things look organized. I loved those kids. That is the truth that makes this story hurt instead of just anger me. I did not stay because I was trying to buy affection. I stayed because somewhere along the line, affection became real. About a year and a half in, I proposed. It was at the lake in October. The air was cold, the leaves were turning, and Ava was throwing stones, while Micah chased ducks. I got down on one knee and asked Celeste to marry me. She cried. The kids screamed. Micah shouted, "Does this mean Hardy lives with us forever?" Celeste looked at me through tears and smiled. That's the plan. For a while, I believed her. But even then, there were signs I ignored. The way she introduced me to people. This is Hardy. He's amazing with the kids. This is Hardy. He fixed half my house. This is Hardy. I don't know what we'd do without him. At the time, I thought that was appreciation. Now I know it was categorization. She did not describe me as the man she loved. She described me as the man who provided. Then came the house. She was tired of renting. The schools were not ideal. The neighborhood was getting worse. The kids needed stability. She used that word constantly, stability, like it was a sacred thing and I could hand it to them if I worked hard enough. I had savings, not enormous, but real. I had built my business carefully over years, taken ugly jobs other people did not want, lived modestly, repaired my own equipment when I could, bought used instead of new. Celeste had almost no savings. So I covered most of the down payment. Then came the repairs after move-in, plumbing, a dead tree, paint, new mattresses, a fence, a washing machine, a roof leak. Each time, she would tell me once she got caught up, we would rebalance. We never did. Instead, my effort became the baseline. That is how entitlement forms. Once someone gets used to your sacrifice, they stop seeing it as sacrifice. It becomes normal, then expected, then owed. By the second year of our engagement, I was not a partner in that household. I was an infrastructure system. I paid, fixed, drove, scheduled, carried, absorbed. If I came over after a 10-hour day, there was still a list, waiting, groceries, pharmacy, bills, forms, a repair, a school payment Celeste forgot was due, a trip to urgent care because Micah had a fever and she could not handle it alone. If I looked tired, she had one line she used every time. It's not about me, it's about the kids. At first, that worked because I loved them. Then she started using it for everything. A more expensive camp than necessary. Ava's advanced dance classes. Micah's sports clinic. A birthday package she absolutely did not need. If I suggested scaling back because I was under pressure, she would act like I had said something obscene. One night, I said, carefully, for a couple months, maybe we should cut back on extras. I'm carrying a lot right now. She stared at me and said, I didn't think I'd get engaged to someone who nickel and dimed children. That sentence did exactly what she meant it to do. It made me feel ashamed of noticing numbers. Like a decent man was supposed to bleed quietly and call it love. Still, numbers are real whether you feel guilty or not. The first time I totaled everything, I was sitting in my garage after midnight with my laptop open, trying to understand why I never got ahead, no matter how many extra jobs I took. I was not building a case against her. I just needed the truth. When I saw the total, I felt sick because I finally understood what was happening. I was not helping a struggling family. I was underwriting a household. Even then, I still stayed because I loved the kids. Because men are taught that if children are involved, Endurance is morality. Because I kept telling myself Celeste was stressed, not manipulative. Then came the summer program. She wanted Ava in an elite academic program out of state. Ava probably would have done well there, but the cost was absurd. So for the first time, I asked practical questions. Was Darren contributing? No. Could Celeste cover part of it? Not right now. Could we choose a local option instead? Her face changed immediately. So you're saying no. I'm saying not like this. For who? For you. Yes, I said, because I was too tired to dress honesty up. For me, I'm carrying too much. She laughed, just once, under her breath, ugly and cold. So this is about money. It has to be, I said. Because math is real. That sentence changed everything. She looked at me with pure contempt and said, I knew eventually you'd show who you really are. What she meant was, I knew eventually you would stop giving. After that, the tone shifted. Little comments in front of the kids. Ask Hardy if he thinks it's worth it. We'll see if Hardy wants to spend money on that. I guess budgets matter more than feelings to some people. Do you know what it is like to feel yourself being rewritten in real time inside your own home? To realize someone is quietly shaping you into the villain before the final accusation even arrives? Then came the breaking point. Late on a Tuesday night, Celeste informed me she had already signed both kids up for separate paid programs, and the total due immediately was more than $3,000. She had not asked first. She had simply assumed I would pay. I stared at her across the kitchen and said, no. She blinked. No, not like this. You do not commit my money and tell me after. She went completely still. Then she said, thank you. For one crazy second, I thought she understood. Then she finished. Thank you for finally being honest. You don't really see them as yours. That was the fight that led to the Facebook post the next morning. So when she deleted it after I posted the receipts, I did not feel victorious. I felt broken open. Because the public lie was awful, but the deeper pain was realizing she had no problem using the children as moral leverage. That night she called me 17 times. I ignored every call. Then the texts came. How dare you embarrass me? You blindsided me. The kids are upset. Happy now? I answered once. You posted first. She replied immediately. I didn't name you. You posted private financial details. Not, I lied. Not, I was wrong. Just outrage that facts had become visible. Nate came over that night with burgers and beer. He found me sitting in the garage staring at nothing. He said, the internet definitely turned. I nodded. Then he asked, was any of it real? With the kids? I said, yeah, that was the worst part. The next afternoon, Celeste came to my house. You humiliated me, she said. I laughed once. Still leading with that? You posted years of private support like it was a weapon. You called me a man who refuses to put your kids first. I was venting. No, I said. You were recruiting. That landed. Then she switched tactics. The kids are confused. My chest tightened immediately. She saw it and pressed harder. Ava is asking questions. Micah is upset. This is affecting them. I said, you affected them when you made me a public villain. Then she used the line she always used when she wanted to turn my love into a leash. If you really loved them, you would have handled this differently. I went to my truck, pulled out a folder, and handed it to her. What is this? Copies, dates, payments, totals. She looked at the first page and recoiled. You made a file on me? No, I said. I made it for myself. Because somewhere along the line, I started feeling crazy. She shoved it back at me. You are unbelievable. No, I said. I'm finished. You're ending our engagement over one argument? No, I said. Over a pattern. Then she said the line that killed whatever doubt I still had. I told people you were struggling to bond with the kids. I covered for you. I stared at her. You what? She realized too late what she had admitted. That was the missing piece. The Facebook post was not an impulsive lie. It was the climax of a story she had already been telling. She had been softening up the audience for months, painting me as distant, emotionally reluctant. Never quite enough, so when she finally made the accusation, people would believe her instantly. All while I paid. All while I showed up. All while I loved those children. I picked the folder back up and said, "We're done." She drove off in a fury. I stood in the driveway until the sound of her SUV disappeared. The fallout was ugly, but simple. Some people apologized. Some vanished. A few still acted like I had done something wrong by documenting what I paid, which told me more about them than about me. 3 days later, Marisol called. She said, "Celeste told us you barely helped unless she pushed. She made it sound like you resented the kids." That hurt more than the post, because I had stayed quiet about what I gave, thinking that was respectful. Meanwhile, she had been using my silence to build a false version of me. Then I asked the question I had been trying not to ask. "How are they?" Marisol paused. "They miss you. Ava, especially." That nearly took me apart. The next several weeks were harder than the blow-up itself. Anger burns fast. Grief does not. I kept expecting to hear Micah in my truck asking whether worms drowned in rain. I kept seeing Ava at my table working on art projects. I passed the cereal aisle once and automatically reached for Micah's favorite brand, before remembering there was no reason to buy it. Celeste texted a few times. Ava won an art prize. I did not answer then. Micah still asks about the tomatoes. I put my phone face down and went outside until dark. Every message felt like bait. Not connection, access. A thread she wanted to keep attached just in case. So I held the boundary. And slowly, life widened again. I replaced my truck tires, paid off my trailer, bought equipment I had been postponing because there was always some urgent school fee, hired part-time office help, started fishing again with Nate, started sleeping. Then one afternoon, I got a message from Darren, Celeste's ex. We met for coffee. He looked exhausted. After a few minutes, he said, "She did the same thing to me." I said nothing. He went on. Every financial limit became proof I didn't care. If I questioned a cost, I was selfish. If I pushed back, I was letting the kids down. Then he said the line that explained everything. "She doesn't bond through gratitude. She bonds through dependency." That was it. That was the whole structure. Not love. Dependency. The more you give, the more necessary you become. The more necessary you become, the harder it is to leave. And when you finally stop, they call you cruel. Months passed. I worked. I kept my head down. I rebuilt my routines. Then, in early fall, I got an email from Ava. The subject line was just, "Hi, Hardy." The message was short. "Hi, Hardy. I wanted to say thank you for helping me with school and my art things, and the tomato gloves. I still have them. I am growing seeds. Mom says things are complicated. I hope your yard is pretty. Love, Ava." I sat in my truck and cried so hard I had to lean over the steering wheel. Not because it reopened the wound, because it proved that something real had survived all the lies. That night, I wrote back carefully. "Hi, Ava. Thank you for your message. I'm proud of you for growing the seeds. Tomatoes need patience, sunlight, and care. So do people. I hope you keep making art and asking good questions. I'm cheering for you, Hardy. No blame. No adult mess. Just love with boundaries." That was enough. It had to be. By winter, people around me noticed I had changed. At Thanksgiving, my uncle tried one of his usual family helps family speeches to hint at borrowing money from me. Old me would have smiled awkwardly and felt guilty. This version of me just said, "No, I'm not doing that." My sister laughed and asked who I was. I told her, "A man who finally learned that math has feelings too." That became the family joke. But it was true. Because here is what I know now. Generosity without boundaries does not create love. It creates appetite. Some people will praise your loyalty as long as it empties you. Some people will call you selfish the moment you stop funding the role they assigned to you. And children, innocent as they are, often get used as shields by adults who do not want to admit what they are doing. I do not hate Celeste anymore. Hatred takes too much energy. What I feel instead is clarity. She did love her children, I believe that, but she also built her life around rescue, dependency, and moral pressure. She did not want support. She wanted surrender. I was willing to give almost everything except that, though it took me far too long to realize it. About a year after the Facebook post, one of those memory features pulled the screenshot back onto my phone. There it was again, disappointed in my partner. He refuses to put my kids first. A year earlier, it had felt like a blade. Now it looked like a doorway. The exact moment the illusion finally broke, I deleted it. Then I went outside. It was early spring. The soil had softened just enough to work. I checked the drainage line along the fence, turned the compost, cut back dead stems, and pressed tomato seeds into the dark earth in the raised beds behind my house. As I covered them, I thought about everything I used to confuse with virtue. Silence, endless sacrifice, the idea that a good man proves his love by how much he can absorb. I do not believe that anymore. A good man shows up. A good man protects children. A good man helps when he can. But a good man is not required to become someone else's permanent emergency fund just because they know how to weaponize the word family. I stood up, brushed the dirt from my hands, and looked over my yard. Clean lines, fresh soil, space, nothing overrun, nothing choking the life out of anything else. For the first time in a very long time, I felt something better than relief. I felt clean. That night, Nate texted me. Any regrets? I looked out the kitchen window at the raised beds and typed back, I loved the kids, but I was never supposed to be their mother's bank account. Knowing the difference saved me.